Please see that my brain be given to the NFL Brain Bank. These are the final words of former professional football player and four-time pro safety, David Dorson. Dave Dorson committed suicide, and these were his final words. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE, was the cause of Dorson's death and eventual donation of his brain to medical research. The Boston University School of Medicine, a leading research source in CTE, states that CTE is a progressive degenerative disease of the brain found in athletes and others with a history of repetitive brain trauma, including concussions, as well as asymptomatic subconcussive hits to the head. Dave Dorson died February 17, 2011. In this same year, across 2011 and 2012, 6 professional athletes also committed suicide across the National Football League and the National Hockey League. These players range from current and former players alike. The prevalence of suicide and the correlation between CTE is not mere coincidence. The frequency of suicides is rising, and leagues are just now addressing issues that could have easily been prevented several years ago if player safety and health were properly regarded. The repeated occurrence of suicide has led to the discussion of what are the implications of brain trauma and its effects in professional sports. The NHL has seen several suicides recently. A New York Times article in 2011 reported that 3 NHL players, all enforcers, entrusted with the protection of teammates through intimidation and the occasional flurry of fists, have been found dead since May of 2011, stirring the debate over the role of fighting in hockey and the stress placed on enforcers and the possible trauma on the men who absorb the sport's biggest beatings. Derek Bogard, Rick Rapien, and Wade Belloc were the 3 players that committed suicide. These were current NHL players in 2011. Fortunately, Derek Bogard's brain was donated to medical research at the Boston University School of Medicine. The Boston University School of Medicine study on Bogard's brain revealed that he had severe and substantially destructive CTE throughout his brain. The New York Times also published an article quoting Commissioner of the NHL, Gary Bettman, and he commented saying that the Boston University School of Medicine study is great for headlines, but not quite conclusive enough to advance the research of CTE. The NHL fails to recognize CTE as a cause of player suicide and is not properly addressing it. It's logical to rule out one player's suicide and say there's no correlation with CTE, but in 2011 alone, this is 3 players that all committed suicide. The toll taken by athletes in the National Hockey League and enforcers and aggressive players is coming to a rise with great health consequences at the hands of CTE. Chronic blunt trauma and CTE can create cognitive damages to the brain. Derek Bogard wasn't the only NHL player to be observed to have CTE within its brain. In March 2010, it was revealed that the Boston University School of Medicine researchers found CTE, a degenerative disease of the brain caused by blunt trauma, within the brain of former NHL player Bob Probert. Bob Probert died of heart failure in 2010, and he was known as an aggressive enforcer. Although he didn't commit suicide, the study shown by the Boston University School of Medicine shows that CTE was prevalent within his brain. There's only been 4 NHL players researched by Boston University School of Medicine, and out of all 4 of those brains, CTE has been found. The NHL is one league affected by CTE, but it's not the only. The NFL is riddled with cases of suicide, especially recently. Also in 2011 and 2012, Junior Seau, a linebacker who played in the NFL for 20 seasons, as well as former players Ray Easterling and Dave Dorson, as mentioned earlier, all committed suicide in that same year. All of these players underwent physical duress over the course of their careers. All of these players committed suicide in a similar fashion across the same year. It should be of no surprise to understand that the Boston University group, as well as the National Institute of Health, conducted studies on the brains of these players and found CTE within all 3 brains. The reoccurrence of these strings of death is more than just a coincidence. Many players have been diagnosed with CTE. More than 20 former NFL players have been posthumously found to have CTE. Many athletes with CTE had symptoms like drug abuse, impulse control problems, and impaired memory, according to a New York Times article. It's easy to determine the cause of death of a player once they've already passed, but this can easily be addressed if research is given before to help prevent death. CTE exhibits many signs of brain trauma. Dr. Bales, chairman of the Department of Neurosurgery at the North Shore University, said that often players with advanced CTE disease spiral into depression and sometimes take their own lives. Today, both the NHL and the NFL is affected by suicide and CTE. This has been an epidemic long time coming. Following the death of Junior Seau, the NFL finally took action, stating in a press release to fans and the Seau family that we appreciate the Seau family's cooperation with the National Institute of Health. The findings underscore the recognized need for additional research to accelerate a fuller understanding of CTE. This statement is similar to the NHL statement made by the earlier. The combined deaths of 6 athletes is no coincidence. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy displays a clear correlation and affects athletes across many sports. Our athletes are paying the ultimate price. The game has changed. Hopefully, moving forward, the NHL and the NFL can properly address these issues before it's too late.